What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. This is my betting breakdown video for UFC 287. We have Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira 2.
I need all the wins, yeah. Harder than all that is. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out.
And we're back for another betting breakdown video this week, breaking down UFC 287, a very good card from top to bottom. 13 fights on this card. So far, all 13 fights have stayed on after the weigh-ins. They survived those, but we have seen some fights get pulled off like during fight time, so hopefully that's not the case this week. But yeah, really looking forward to this card. This is a card where I have a ton of bets. I have, I think, 17 bets, but a lot of those being prop sprinkles. I only have 6 units on the line, so a lot of prop sprinkles here. Nothing that I really love where I want to go out and smash it or nothing like that, but a lot of spots sticking out in general here. So can't wait to break it down. As always, going to be breaking down these fights from a betting perspective and a betting perspective only. If you want a further, more in-depth breakdown on why I like which fighter, on why I'm betting what, I did do a full card breakdown and prediction video that went out on Monday, and then I also went live on Friday as well, going into further detail on all of this stuff. So before we get started, guys, going to bring back the contest I like doing on the pay-per-views. To enter this contest, first, leave a like on the video. Second, subscribe to the channel if you don't already. And then third, comment down a parlay. Could be a 2-leg, 3-leg, 4-leg, 5-leg parlay, etc. I think last time the guy that won had like an 8-leg parlay. Just make sure you put all the legs and make sure you put the odds as well. Really helps me out. $25 to first place, whoever hits the biggest odds there. If there's a tie, which I don't think there'll be one, if there's a tie, it goes to the person that did comment that parlay first. So be sure to comment down your parlays. And then lastly, if you guys have not checked out DFS by the Numbers.com, be sure to do so. I put a lot of content on the website, a lot of stuff you don't see on YouTube. Early bets, I get a lot of these bets out typically before Wednesday or Thursday once these props drop. So make sure you get on that. You get all the stats you see here on the screen. I do a lot of work on these articles. I do a full card and best bet article, and then my final article on Friday with a lot more information there. So if you guys have not checked out DFSbythenumbers.com, please be sure to do so. Lots of great stuff going on over there. But yep, I say we get into it. And we're going to start with the first fight on the card. We have Jacqueline Amarim going against Sam Hughes. And this was my first bet of the card. And I have the under here. I have a half unit on the under 2.5 rounds. Got it at plus 100. It opened up at like plus 275 last week. And that's kind of why I hate these weeks off sometimes, because I missed that. Missed it at like plus 180 as well, something like that. But when I finally got around to taping the fight, got it at plus 100. I still like that number, just due to the fact that Jacqueline Amarim has never seen a second round, let alone she's never seen the over 1.5, 2.5 ever. She's never been to the second round. She's actually ever been over 1/2 of a round. That's 2 minutes and 30 seconds, only once in her career. Yes, she's fighting absolute trash cans, but her credentials are off the charts. Second-degree black belt in BJJ, just recently started training at American Top Team a couple years ago. And the thing is, like, if Amarim gets this fight down to the mat, I think it's a situation where it's going to be over shortly after. I think her ground game is going to be levels above Sam Hughes. And the question is, can she get it there? And I'm leaning towards, yeah, I think she can, just due to the fact that Sam Hughes has a 47% takedown defense and has been taken down pretty much by everybody she's fought thus far in the UFC. So I think one takedown, the fight could be over shortly after. And the reason I do like the under rather than Amarim inside the distance, which is only like plus 130, I like the under because if Amarim does not get the first round finish, she's not able to get Hughes out of there, we could see Hughes take over and get that finish late. I also think this is a good live bet situation where if Amarim does not get that first round finish, I would look to live bet Sam Hughes, just because of the question marks about Amarim going to that second and third round. But I do think Amarim gets to finish. I think she gets it down to the mat, and once she does get it down to the mat, I think she runs through Sam Hughes here in the very first round. But the bet for me is the under 2.5 rounds at plus 100. Moving on, we got Charlian Nurden-Beckett going against Steve Garcia. There's a couple fights on this card that are I feel are really close. This is one of them. The line doesn't really indicate that, though. I think the most likely scenario is Charlian goes out there and wrestles his way to a 3-round decision. We've seen Steve Garcia taken down before. We've seen him controlled a lot before inside and outside the UFC. So Charlian's going to go out there and wrestle. I don't think that Charlian's going to want to stand with Steve Garcia. I know Garcia's getting dropped by, what's his face, Mahashate. He got dropped by Charlie Ontiveros, but Steve Garcia is going to have a pretty big height and reach advantage in this matchup. Steve Garcia is huge for the division at 6 foot. So yeah, I think Xiaolian's going to want to wrestle here, and I think the most likely scenario is he grinds out a decision. This line really stuck out to me though. And that's the finish only for Steve Garcia. Got it at plus 195. Have a half unit on that. It was like plus 200 on DraftKings at one point. I like the finish only for Steve Garcia. I think Garcia is very dangerous on the feet. We've seen Nerdenbeke finished 8 times. That is a lot of times. It's a 6 by submission, 2 by knockout. I think if Xiaolian wins, it's by decision. And if you like Xiaolian, maybe take a look at the decision prop. But that finish only for Steve Garcia really jumped out to me at that price tag. It seems like it should be about a pick 'em for a finish only. In this matchup. Yes, Xiaolian might be able to knock out a chinny Steve Garcia, but I really don't think that's going to be the game plan here. So, yeah, I like that finish only for Steve Garcia, half a unit, plus 195. Really can't believe that number. It's a lot better than the money line as well. And like I said, if this fight goes the distance, that bet gets voided. So, yeah, I don't hate a poke at that whatsoever. Moving on, we got Ignacio Bahamondes going against Trey Ogden. We have Bahamondes, one of the biggest favorites on the card, and honestly, this is probably my most confident pick on the card. I think it's a really, really bad matchup for Trey Ogden here, and I do have a couple plays on this fight. So the first one, I have Ignacio Bahamondes inside the distance, plus 120 for a half a unit. Ogden's never been knocked out, but I really think that could potentially change here. He's never been knocked out, but this is going to be the best striker and the most dangerous striker he's fought since then. You know, he's fought Jordan Levin in the UFC, who is obviously not the best striker, and then he fought Zellhuber, who just did not show up that night. I think Bahamondes is going to bring it to him. He's going to land big shots, and he could potentially knock out Trey Ogden. What I also did was I did a very small sprinkle here, 0.15 units on Ignacio Bahamondes sub round 2, plus 2,400 on FanDuel Sportsbook, and then I put a 0.1 unit bet on Bahamondes sub round 3 at plus 4,000 on Bet365, just due to the fact that when Ogden's losing, he's actually losing by submission, and this is a fight where I don't think Ogden is going to just stand at range with Bahamondes for 3 rounds. If he does that, I mean, it's a stupid game plan. I think he's going to go in there and try to wrestle, and when he does, he's been subbed a lot doing just that. So Bahamondes got a sub in his last matchup, which I kind of hate he did it against Rong Zhu, because I think we would get much, much better sub numbers if that did not happen. But yeah, Bahamondes is working on that sub game. He's training with Bilal Muhammad. I could very well see Ogden getting hurt, shooting in for a sloppy takedown and getting his neck caught in something. So don't mind like small poke on these Bahamondes sub props. Bahamondes sub in general, I think, is 8-1 on FanDuel. So yeah, I don't mind a shot on that, but I like Bahamondes here quite a bit. I like him as a parlay piece. I was not able to find another parlay piece I liked though, so no parlays on this card for me, but I do have really small shots on these Bahamondes 2 and 3 sub props, and then Bahamondes ultimately inside the distance. I think it could be knockout, it could be sub, knockout probably, or it's more likely for sure. It's just I think the sub could potentially be live here. All right, next we have Lupita Godinez going against Cynthia Calvillo. Nothing here. If Cynthia Calvillo showed up on the scale and looked like complete crap, I was going to take a shot on Lupita inside the distance. That is not the case. Calvillo showed up. She looked good. And if Calvillo's motivated, honestly, we probably have a live dog here just due to the fact that I can't trust Lupi anymore after what happened in the Angela Hill fight. Yes, she said she was hurt, she was sick, whatever in the last fight. Just sounds like an excuse to me. She should win this fight, but I just can't trust her. This is a big pass for me. Like I said, I was maybe going to look at Godinez inside the distance at a crazy number, but it's not even a crazy number, plus 300. Big pass on me. I'm not passing on a lot of fights, but this is one fight that I am going to pass on. Very, very gladly pass on this one. All right, next we have Carl Williams going against Chase Sherman. I do have a bet here. I have a half unit shot on the under 2.5 rounds, plus 102. I missed the plus 110 there. I kind of thought more money would come in on the over just because Carl Williams does not finish anybody. But I think Chase Sherman has the worst ground game in the UFC. And I'm not even joking. I really do think he has the worst ground game in the UFC. So bad that I think Carl Williams, who really does not finish anybody, should get a finish here. Like if Carl Williams does not finish Chase Sherman, I'm convinced Carl Williams will never finish anybody in the UFC ever. This is the fight he's going to do it if he wants to get that finish. And hey, he was almost close to finishing Bresky in his last fight. He knocked him down. Was really close to getting him out of there. I think Chase Sherman's ground game is just not UFC level whatsoever, and Williams is going to get on top here, and I think he could pound him out or sub him. With that said, though, if this fight is on the feet, Chase Sherman is going to have opportunities to find that knockout. I like the under here at plus money for a heavyweight under 2.5. I gotta take it here. I know Williams typically is not a finisher, but if he's gonna ever finish anybody, it's going to be Sherman here. Small play, but half unit shot on the under 2.5 plus 102 there. Moving on, exciting one here. Joe Pyfer going against Gerald Meerschaert, and I do have 4 plays here. This is my way of playing violence. I think we can all agree that this fight has a really good chance of finishing inside the distance. I mean, we could take a look at some of these finish numbers. Look at these finish-loss numbers. Pyfer finished in both his losses, and then Gerald Meerschaert finished 11 times, right? And then these finish-win numbers. Pyfer, a 90% finish rate. Meerschaert, a 94% finish rate. Meerschaert with 27 submission wins. So what I did was... First, we'll start on the Pyfer side. If you like Pyfer, which I personally do lean the Pyfer side, you got to like him by knockout, and I think it's an early knockout as well. I have a half a unit on Joe Pyfer to win by first round knockout at plus 290, and then a quarter unit on Joe Pyfer to win by knockout in round 2 at plus 650. So I think if Pyfer wins, it's a first or second round knockout. If Pyfer gets to the third round, I have some serious concerns. And then that's why I have a very small play on Gerald Meerschaert, is 0.15 units. Gerald Meerschaert wins in the second round by submission at plus 1,200. And then 0.1 units on Gerald Meerschaert to win by submission in round 3 at plus 2,200. So a total of 1 unit on this fight. That's how I'm breaking it down. I think if it's Pyfer KO 1 or 2. And I think if it's Meerschaert, it's Meerschaert sub 2 or 3. Meerschaert sub, like, you can never go wrong with playing it. Every single time this guy fights, no matter who he fights, it seems like he always finds a way. Am I confident in Joe Pyfer? A decent bit, but you can't ever be confident against a guy like Gerald Meerschaert. Like, if this fight hits the mat, especially late, there's a really good chance that Gerald Meerschaert subs this guy. Like, we saw Joe Pyfer get submitted in the past before, back in 2019, which was not too long ago, by Jonathan Patty in the second round. So yeah, if this fight does hit the mat, it's like, Meerschaert's going to be live for that sub. But I personally am of the opinion of Joe Pyfer comes in here, marches down Gerald Meerschaert, and finishes him in the very first round. But as long as somebody gets finished in this matchup, I should be good, and that's kind of how I'm attacking this one. Obviously, fight doesn't get the decision, solid parlay piece, but a little bit too chalky for my liking, around minus 500. So give me violence, lean Pyfer KO, but I think those Gerald Meerschaert sub props are always live no matter when he fights, and I'll be on those as well. All right, moving on, we have Luana Pinheiro going against Michelle Waterson Gomez. Yeah, probably should pass here, but I did take the shot on Michelle Waterson Gomez, plus 150 for a half a unit. It's one of those fights where, man, I think this should be lined a lot closer. The only thing that scares me with Waterson Gomez is the fact that she's a 37-year-old strawweight, but she's taken just a massive step down in competition, fighting some of the best fighters in the division, whereas Luana Pinheiro is struggling against Sam Hughes. She's taken the easy way out against Rando Marcos her last time out as well. I think Waterson Gomez is very live here to win this fight. I think she probably loses the first round just because Pinheiro is her best in the first round. She's her strongest in the first round. But after those first 5 minutes, Pinheiro slows down. And I think Waterson can win those second and third rounds. But this is going to go to decision, which it's going to be all in the hands of the judges, which I hate. And the judges probably screw this up. But when they do screw it up, I'd rather be on the plus money than laying chalk on Luana Pinheiro, who I think has 1 round of gas. So I expect Pinheiro to look good early, get some takedowns, use her judo, land some big shots. But as the fight goes on, I think she does slow down. So yeah, honestly, probably a even better live bet situation for Waterson Gomez here. But I did play it pre-fight at plus 150 for a half a unit. Not my favorite play in the world, but line just doesn't make much sense to me. All right, moving on, Kelvin Gastelum, Chris Curtis. I think it's a close fight. I think it goes to decision. I think we can all agree that this fight goes to decision. Both these guys just next level durable. They have over a combined like 30-some fights. Only 1 knockout loss, and that was against that was Chris Curtis getting knocked out there. I'm convinced Kelvin Gastelum might never get knocked out. This guy has a chin of steel, and honestly, so does Curtis. So yeah, I think it goes to decision. I think it's close. It's the closest line fight on the card. Why not play that split decision prop? I have not been able to hit one of these yet, and I have 2 on this card. So I want to go at least 1 for 2 on these split decision props. This is my first split decision fight. I have a quarter unit on the fight to end by split or majority decision, plus 450, and that's actually taken a lot of action, it looks like, because they actually moved that split decision line to like plus 425. So don't typically see those lines moving a ton, but yeah, it moved a little bit. So I think a lot of people are on the same page there. This fight's going to be close. It's going to decision. The judges suck. They're going to screw it up, and it's probably going to be a split one way or another. So yeah, split decision. Don't really love a side either way. The pick's Curtis just because I want to be on that dog money in a very close fight, but don't have a ton of confidence in him. I get why some people are on Gastelum, but I wouldn't trust him with my money personally. Give me the split decision prop here. I think it's a pretty solid split decision prop look there. And I have another one we'll talk about in a little bit. All right, moving on to the main card. Very good fight here. Rob Rosas Jr. going against Christian Rodriguez. I do have a bet here. Have a half unit shot on the fight to end by submission, plus 138 there. I think the most likely scenario is Rob Rosas Jr. by sub, but the reason I took the fight to end in sub in general because of a couple things, honestly. The first thing is there wasn't much of a difference between the Raul Rosas Jr. sub prop and the fight to end by sub. I think Raul Rosas Jr. by sub was like plus 155, plus 160. Fight to end by sub, plus 138. I'd rather be on the safe side there because Christian Rodriguez is actually a really good grappler, has a really good guillotine. He went for a lot of submissions against Jonathan Pierce, even had Jonathan Pierce in a very, very deep guillotine, and then also submitted Joshua Weems. So I think Christian Rodriguez is going to actually have opportunities, believe it or not, to submit Raul Rosas Jr. Do I think it happens? I don't, but he's going to have those opportunities. So plus 138, fight to end by submission. I do think it's Raul Rosas Jr. getting that submission. I think it's early as well. Christian Rodriguez, he missed weight. He went back to cut weight again, and then he missed weight again. Not a good look. I didn't think he looked great on the scales. I think Rosas wins this fight. Do I want to lay minus 240, 225? No, I don't. But if I would bet Rosas, it would be that submission prop. Or like I said, the fight to end by sub. Just cover both sides because I think Rodriguez could potentially get a submission here. I think it's sneaky. But I do lean at being Rosas early on in that first round. All right. Moving on, we have Kevin Holland going against Santiago Ponzinibbio. Yeah, I hate betting on Kevin Holland fights, but I unfortunately have a bet here. But have a half unit shot, Kevin Holland to win inside the distance, plus 148. It's just, I went back and watched Santiago Ponzinibbio's last fight against Alex Morono. It's just a terrible look. Alex Morono, a guy that typically is not really finishing anybody. I mean, he has a couple finishes here or there, but no, I mean, he hurt Santiago Ponzinibbio in every single round, dropping him multiple times. And I think Kevin Holland is, for one, much, much bigger than Alex Morono. He's going to be much bigger in this matchup than Ponzinibbio, and I think Holland's much more dangerous wherever the fight goes as well. So, yeah, I like Kevin Holland. Do I like his money line? No, I'll never lay this much chalk on Kevin Holland just because he has horrible fight IQ, and he's probably going to do something stupid in this matchup, but I think he's going to have a ton of opportunities to finish this fight, hit Ponzinibbio hard, and Ponzinibbio now 36. I think the durability is diminishing a little bit. So give me Holland inside the distance, plus 148 for half a unit. Adrian Yanez, Rob Font. This, for me personally, is the toughest fight to call on the entire card. I feel like I should be betting Rob Font, which I am in a different way, but I feel like I should be on this money line, right? It's just, I think the durability of Rob Font is starting to diminish very, very quickly. He got dropped 5 times in his last 2 fights. I don't like that. If those 2 fights did not happen, I'd be max betting Rob Font probably here. It's just they did happen, and it's not a good look. Rob Font now 35, 36 years old at bantamweight. I don't like that. He's taken a ton of damage in his last 2 fights. So I see why a lot of people are on Yanez. I'm picking Yanez to win. I think it's going to be one of those situations, though, where Yanez is losing the minutes, Rob Font's winning the minutes just because Rob Font is going to be doing a lot more, especially early. I think Rob Font wins that first round more often than not. And I think Rob Font's going to do the better work on the feet in terms of the volume, but it's going to be Adrian Yanez that's doing the better work in terms of those bigger shots, those bigger moments. I actually think this fight goes the distance, believe it or not, just due to the fact that both these guys are so tough. Yanez, extremely tough, never been knocked out, never had to question his durability. Rob Font, yes, he's been knocked down, but his recoverability is very good, and he's never been knocked out still till this day. Could it be the first time it happens here against Adrian Yanez? Potentially. And I was even looking at maybe an Adrian Yanez knockout prop, but they're only giving you plus 160. I mean, plus 160 against a guy who's never been knocked out. I don't like that. And Adrian Yanez is taking a massive, massive step up in competition as well. Going from, honestly, just absolute trash cans. You know, Tony Kelly, who's cut, pretty much Victor Rodriguez, who's Alaska FC guy, cut. Just terrible, terrible opponents in the UFC thus far, outside of Davey Grant, and Davey Grant arguably beat the guy. So the two bets I have here is I took a shot on Rob Font by decision just because, man, if this fight does go the distance, I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be minute winning of Rob Font versus moment winning of Yanez. And that decision prop for Rob Font just really stuck out at plus 285. So I put a quarter unit on that. And then I also put a quarter unit on the fight to end in split decision. My second split decision prop of the night, plus 550 for a quarter unit on that, just because I think this fight goes the distance. I think it's minute winning versus moment winning. I think it's one of those fights where Rob Font's going to be doing more in terms of the numbers, but it's going to be Yanez landing the bigger shots, the harder shots. Maybe he gets a knockdown or two. And I think we could see some pretty wild scorecards here. For one, the judges, they're terrible. The judges don't know what they're looking at. The judges, some of them are even blind. I could very well see a split here if this does go the distance. So I'm on that split props on Yanez Font, and then a split prop on the Curtis Gastelum, hoping to go 1-1 on those for some nice profit there. But give me Yanez for the win. I think he does win just by doing more, landing the harder shots, but those Rob Font decision props are kind of wild to me. All right, moving on, co-main event, Gilbert Burns, Jorge Masvidal. Yeah, nothing here. It's going to be a pass for me. I think it's one of those fights where, like, they really want you to bet on Jorge Masvidal here. Like, they're giving you plus 340, and even money's been coming in on Masvidal. Like, Burns was like minus 500 earlier in the week. It's intriguing. It really is, but it's one of those fights where I think, yes, the line is wide, but I think you have to pick Burns here. You have to favor Burns here. Is he minus 500? No, but I think Burns does ultimately end up getting the job done. One bet that I actually considered here was the over 2.5 rounds plus money, but I don't know. There's a lot of question marks in this fight. Like, is Jorge Masvidal showing up for a paycheck? A lot of people think that's the case. I don't know. I mean, it's a fight where I don't really want anything to do with it, but I would lean over if anything, but nothing I put my money on. So I'm going to sit back and watch this one, and we'll see what happens. But the pick's Burns by decision, but nothing sticking out from a betting perspective. And then finally, the main event, Israel Adesanya going against Alex Pereira. I took the shot on Alex Pereira here. Half a unit, plus 120. It's a fight where, I'd favor actually a lot of guys in the middleweight division over Alex Pereira. Just guys that could get him down to the mat and wrestle, like a Robert Whittaker, like even Marvin Vettori. That's just not Adesanya's game. Adesanya's been talking about how he's going to go out there and wrestle. It's just not. That's not who Adesanya is. I think this is going to be a 25-minute kickboxing fight, and when it is, it's a close fight. Adesanya, probably the better striker, more tools on the feet, more volume, better movement, but it's going to be Pereira that's going to be plotting forward, pressuring, and it's going to be Pereira that has that equalizer, and that equalizer is that power. 25 minutes in the cage is a long time to be in there with Alex Pereira. Adesanya has to go 25 minutes without getting hurt, without getting caught, without getting hit clean. And I see at some point Alex Pereira finding the chin of Adesanya and knocking him out. So I took the half unit shot. Alex Pereira, I think, gets it done by knockout, but I didn't want to mess around with any props on this one, just taking the straight money line shot here. If you like Adesanya, maybe the Adesanya by decision, but that's not getting you much, only plus 185. So taking the dog shot in Pereira. So yeah, guys, we did it. I want to quickly go over my action. I have a ton of bets, 17 bets. That's a lot, but very, very small shots. If you guys have noticed, they're all plus money, which is crazy, but yet not laying chalk anywhere in this card. So yes, I have a lot of bets, but it's actually my third least exposed card in terms of a unit size. So bankroll management's key. Like I said, not a lot of spots where I just want to completely smash, but I do like a lot of these like prop sprinkles. So my two money line bets, Alex Pereira, half a unit plus 120, Michelle Watterson, Gomez, half a unit plus 150. I have a half a unit on Sam Hughes, Amarim, under 2.5 plus 100. Holland inside the distance, plus 148, half a unit on the Rosas Rodriguez fight ending by submission, plus 138, half a unit on Steve Garcia, scorecards no action, that finished only plus 195. I have a quarter unit, Rob Font wins by decision, plus 285, a quarter unit on the split decision prop, someone wins by split decision, Font, Yanez, plus 550, and then also the split decision prop on the Gastelum Curtis fight, plus 450, quarter unit there as well. A half unit shot on Sherman Williams, under 2.5 rounds, plus 102. Half a unit shot on Bahamondes inside the distance, plus 120. And then very small sprinkles on Bahamondes sub 2, 0.15 units, plus 2,400. And then Bahamondes sub 3, 0.1 units, plus 4,000. A 0.5 unit bet on Joe Pyfer KO1, plus 290. A 0.25 unit on Pyfer KO2, plus 650. A 0.15 unit bet on Meerschaert round 2, sub, plus 1,200, and then a 0.1 unit bet on Meerschaert round 3 sub, plus 2,200. Lots of plus money shots. Let's see what happens. I'm not expecting to hit every bet, but hoping to come out with some profit. I think I am on either a 4 or 5 event winning streak, so hopefully it continues here. Had a very good March, looking to kick off April with a good start, but yeah, should be a good one, guys. So make sure you guys comment down your parlays. Curious to see what you guys come up with. Maybe I'll throw in a parlay as well, see if I can even beat a couple of you guys here with the parlay there. Be sure to check out dfsbythenumbers.com. Lots of good stuff going on over there. Check me out on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers. And then, yeah, best of luck for UFC 287. Enjoy the card. Should be a fun one. And then let us make some money for this card. See you guys later.